The goodbye note trembles in Elena's hand as she stands on platform 7 of Boston's South Station, her suitcase at her feet and tears streaming down her face. Around her, commuters rush past, oblivious to the fact that her entire world is crumbling in the middle of a Thursday afternoon. She reads the words one more time before folding the letter and placing it in the envelope addressed to her husband. The envelope feels impossibly heavy, weighted with secrets that could change everything. But it's too late now. He's made his choice, and she's making hers. 20 minutes ago, Luca Santoro dropped her at the curb outside the station with nothing but a cold kiss on her forehead and words that still echo in her mind like a death sentence. You deserve better than this life, Elena. Better than me. What Luca doesn't know is that the envelope she's leaving behind contains 3 secrets that will shatter him completely. The first? She's carrying his child, discovered just that morning when she finally understood why she'd been sick for 2 weeks. The second? She knows exactly why he's sending her away, and it has nothing to do with her deserving better. The third secret, the one that will haunt him forever, is written in her own handwriting on expensive stationery, sealed with tears and finality. As the announcement for the 2:15 train to New York echoes through the cavernous station, Elena takes one last look at the life she's leaving behind. She has no idea that in just a few hours, the note she's about to leave will send Luca Santoro to his knees, that it will change the trajectory of 2 powerful families, or that the train she's about to board will become the beginning of a war. Welcome to a story of love, betrayal, and the secrets that destroy us. If you're already hooked on this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Elena Hayes had always known she didn't belong in Luca's world of expensive suits, armed drivers, and conversations that stopped the moment she walked into a room. She was a curator at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, a woman who found beauty in Renaissance paintings and ancient sculptures, not in the cold efficiency of power that her husband wielded like a weapon. Their love story had begun 2 years ago in the most unlikely of places, the museum's Renaissance Gallery. Elena had been giving a private tour to a group of wealthy donors when she noticed him standing alone before Botticelli's Virgin and Child. Something about the way he stared at the painting, the raw emotion flickering across his hard features, had captivated her. She's protecting him, Luca had said without looking at her, sensing her presence beside him. The mother. You can see it in the way she holds the child, like she knows the world is dangerous and she's the only thing standing between him and destruction. Elena had been struck by the observation, by the depth it revealed in a man who looked like he could break someone in half without breaking a sweat. Most people focus on the religious symbolism, she'd replied, but you see the human element. That conversation had sparked something neither of them expected. Luca had returned to the museum every week, always finding her, always asking questions that revealed a soul hungering for beauty in a life filled with darkness. He'd courted her with a gentleman's patience, never revealing the full extent of his empire until after she'd already fallen in love with him. When he proposed 6 months later in front of that same Botticelli painting, she'd said yes without hesitation. She'd known by then what he was, Luca Santoro, head of the Santoro family, one of the most powerful organizations in Boston. But she'd also known the man beneath the reputation, the one who stood before paintings and saw protection and love instead of monetary value. Marriage had brought reality crashing down. The constant security details, the way people feared him, the phone calls at 3 a.m. that made his jaw clench with barely controlled violence. Elena had tried to adapt, to be the wife he needed while maintaining her own identity. She'd continued working at the museum, creating a life that existed separate from his darkness. But lately, she'd felt him pulling away. He came home later, spoke less, looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Something between guilt and anguish. This morning had started like any other. Elena had woken feeling nauseous, a sensation that had plagued her for 2 weeks. She'd attributed it to stress, to the growing distance between her and Luca. But when the nausea persisted even after her morning coffee, she'd stopped at a pharmacy on her way to work and purchased a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. Positive. She'd stared at the test in the museum's private bathroom, her heart racing with a complicated mixture of joy and terror. A baby. Their baby. For 10 minutes she'd imagined telling Luca, watching his face transform with wonder, planning a nursery in their Beacon Hill townhouse. Then she'd returned home early, test hidden in her purse, ready to share the news that would change everything. Instead, she'd found Luca waiting for her in their living room, a packed suitcase at his feet, and an expression colder than she'd ever seen. "Elena," he'd said, his voice carefully controlled. "Sit down. We need to talk." Her world had begun tilting. "What's going on? Why is there a suitcase?" "I've booked you a ticket on the 2:15 train to New York. Your college roommate Sarah still lives in Manhattan, right? You can stay with her." Elena's legs had given out, and she'd sank onto their leather sofa. "I don't understand. Are you leaving me?" "I'm setting you free." The words had come out flat, emotionless, but she'd caught something in his dark eyes. Pain, perhaps. Or regret. "This marriage was a mistake. You don't belong in my world, and I was selfish to think you could." "But I love you," she'd whispered, her hand instinctively moving to her still flat stomach where their child was growing. "Love isn't enough." He turned away, unable to meet her eyes. "The car will be here in 45 minutes. Pack what you need. I'll have the rest of your things sent to you." "Luca, please." She'd stood, moving toward him. "Talk to me. Tell me what's really happening. Whatever it is, we can face it together." But he'd remained rigid, unmovable. "There's nothing to discuss. This is for the best. You'll understand eventually." Elena had felt something crack inside her chest. The man she loved, the man whose child she carried, was throwing her away like she meant nothing. Like 2 years of marriage, of love, of building a life together, could be erased with a train ticket and cold dismissal. She'd gone upstairs and packed mechanically, tears streaming down her face. As she'd folded clothes into her suitcase, she'd caught sight of the pregnancy test she'd left on her dresser. For a moment, she'd considered telling him right then, using the baby as a weapon to make him reconsider. But pride had stopped her. If Luca Santoro wanted her gone, if he thought she didn't belong in his world, then she would leave. But she would leave on her own terms, with her own power. She'd sat at her writing desk and pulled out a piece of expensive stationery, cream-colored paper with her initials embossed in gold, a wedding gift from Luca's mother, and she'd begun to write. The words had flowed from a place of pain and love and devastating finality. She told him about the baby, yes, but she'd also told him other things. Secrets she'd discovered, truths she'd pieced together, information that would either save him or destroy him, depending on what he chose to do with it. When she'd finished, her hand had been cramping and her face was wet with tears. She'd sealed the envelope and written his name across the front in her careful curator's script. Luca Santoro. Open immediately. Now, standing on platform 7 with that envelope burning in her hand, Elena makes a decision. She walks to the information desk, where a middle-aged woman with kind eyes looks up from her computer. "Excuse me," Elena says, her voice surprisingly steady. "If I give you this envelope, will you make sure it gets delivered? There's a man, my husband. He'll be coming here looking for me. His name is Luca Santoro. Everyone knows who he is." The woman's eyes widen slightly at the name. Everyone in Boston knows the Santoro family. "Are you sure you don't want to give it to him yourself?" "I'm sure," Elena replies. "Please. It's important that he gets this, but not until after my train leaves. Can you do that for me?" The woman looks at Elena's tear-stained face, at the desperation in her eyes, and nods. "I'll make sure he gets it. You have my word." Elena hands over the envelope, feeling simultaneously lighter and heavier. "Thank you." As she turns back toward her platform, she hears the final boarding call for the 2:15 to New York. She picks up her suitcase, straightens her spine, and walks toward the train that will carry her away from the only man she's ever loved. She doesn't look back. She doesn't see the black Mercedes that pulls up to the curb outside the station 5 minutes after her train departs. She doesn't see Luca Santoro burst through the doors of South Station, his carefully controlled composure finally cracking. And she doesn't see his face when the woman at the information desk hands him the cream-colored envelope with his name written in his wife's elegant handwriting. Luca Santoro stands in the middle of South Station, commuters flowing around him like water around a stone, and stares at the envelope in his hands. His name is written across the front in Elena's careful script, and just seeing her handwriting makes his chest constrict with pain. He'd convinced himself he was doing the right thing. Sending her away, keeping her safe, protecting her from the darkness that was closing in around him. But the moment his driver had pulled away from the station, leaving her standing on the curb with her suitcase and devastated expression, he'd known he'd made a terrible mistake. He'd lasted exactly 15 minutes before calling his driver to turn around. 15 minutes of telling himself he was strong, that he was protecting her, that love sometimes meant letting go. Then he'd looked at his hands, hands that had held her, touched her, made love to her, and realized they were shaking. "Turn around," he'd ordered Marco, his voice rough. "Now!" But when they'd arrived back at the station, Elena was gone. The woman at the information desk had looked at him with pity as she handed him the envelope. "Your wife asked me to give you this. She said it was important." Now, standing in the middle of the station where he'd just lost everything, Luca's fingers tremble as he tears open the envelope. Inside is a single piece of cream-colored stationery, covered in Elena's handwriting. His eyes scan the first line, and his blood turns to ice. "My dearest Luca, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Not just from Boston, but from your life in the way I once occupied it. I want you to know that I understand why you sent me away. I'm not as naive as you think I am. I know about the Marchetti family. I know they've been threatening you, trying to push into your territory. I know they've been watching me, following me to work, photographing me at the museum. I've known for 3 weeks. Luca's hands grip the paper so hard it crinkles. She knew? Elena had known she was being watched and hadn't told him? I didn't tell you because I knew what you'd do. You'd send me away, just like you're doing now. You'd make the decision for both of us, cutting me out of my own life because you think that's protection. But Luca, protection without choice is just another form of prison. There are 3 things I need to tell you. 3 secrets that will change everything. First, I'm pregnant. I found out this morning, just hours before you told me to leave. We're going to have a baby. Or rather, I'm going to have a baby. Whether you're part of that child's life is entirely up to you now. The paper slips from Luca's fingers, fluttering to the ground. Pregnant. Elena is pregnant with his child, and he'd sent her away. He'd put his pregnant wife on a train to New York, alone and heartbroken. He bends to pick up the letter, his vision blurring. But as he continues reading, his world shatters completely. Second, the Marchetti family isn't your real problem. They're working with someone inside your organization. Someone close to you has been feeding them information about your operations, your security, your movements. That's how they knew about me. That's how they knew exactly when and where to take pictures that would force your hand. I've spent the last 3 weeks documenting everything I've observed. Names, times, conversations I overheard. It's all in the safe deposit box at Boston First Bank, box number 2847. The key is taped to the bottom of your mother's music box in your study, the one you think I don't know about. The box where you keep your father's wedding ring and the letters he wrote to your mother. Luca's mind races. Someone in his organization is betraying him? Someone close enough to know his security details, his patterns, his vulnerabilities? The implications are staggering, but it's the 3rd secret that brings Luca to his knees, literally. He sinks onto a nearby bench, his legs unable to support him as he reads Elena's final words. 3rd, I love you. I love you with every fiber of my being, with every breath in my body. I would have stayed through anything, threats, danger, even death, if you'd asked me to. If you'd trusted me enough to let me make that choice. But you didn't ask. You decided that your love meant pushing me away, protecting me from a distance, making yourself the martyr in our story. And in doing so, you've broken something that I don't think can be repaired. I'm not the helpless woman you think I am, Luca. I'm a curator who's spent years studying human nature, who understands power and control and the games people play. I see you more clearly than you see yourself. I see the good man beneath the ruthless exterior. I see the boy who lost his father too young and had to become a man overnight. I see the fear that drives every decision you make. But I also see a man who loves me enough to let me go, even if it destroys him. And that's beautiful and heartbreaking and completely unnecessary. So here's what's going to happen. I'm leaving Boston. I'm going to New York, and I'm going to start building a life for our child. A life away from your world of violence and secrets. You can use the information I've left you to root out your traitor and deal with the Marchetti family. You can save your empire, but you can't have both. You can't have your empire and have me. You made that choice when you put me in a car and sent me to this train station. You chose power over partnership, protection over trust. If you want to be part of our child's life, you know where to find me. But I won't be your kept woman, tucked away safely while you play God with everyone's lives. I won't be the wife you protect instead of the partner you trust. I deserve more than that. Our child deserves more than that. And deep down, you know I'm right. I love you, Luca. I will always love you. But love isn't enough when it comes without respect, without trust, without the belief that I'm strong enough to stand beside you instead of behind you. Goodbye, my love. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope the empire you chose over me brings you all the happiness I couldn't. Forever yours, even though you didn't want me to be. Elena P.S. The Marchetti family plans to hit your shipment at the docks tomorrow night at midnight. The trader gave them your delivery schedule. Be careful. Even now, even after you threw me away, I'm still trying to keep you safe. That's what real love looks like. Luca sits on the bench in South Station, Elena's letter clutched in his shaking hands, and feels his carefully constructed world collapse around him. She's pregnant. She knew about the threats. She's been documenting evidence to save him, and he'd repaid her dedication, her courage, her love, by sending her away like she was nothing. Boss? Marco's voice cuts through his spiral. His driver has been standing nearby, maintaining a respectful distance. Boss, are you okay? Luca looks up, and Marco takes an involuntary step back at the expression on his face. He's seen Luca angry before, seen him dangerous. But this is devastation. This is a man watching everything he cares about slip through his fingers. She's pregnant, Luca says, his voice hollow. My wife is pregnant, and I sent her away. Marco's eyes widen. Sir, And there's a traitor. Someone in the family has been feeding the Marchettis information. Someone I trust. Luca stands abruptly, the letter still gripped in his hand. I need to get to my study. Now. As Marco drives them toward the Beacon Hill townhouse, Luca reads Elena's letter 3 more times, each word cutting deeper than the last. She'd known. She'd been watching, documenting, protecting him even while he was planning to push her away. She'd been his partner in ways he'd never recognized, and he'd treated her like a liability. The townhouse feels empty without her. Luca climbs the stairs to his study, a room Elena rarely entered. It was his sanctuary, the place where he conducted the business he'd tried to keep separate from their life together. Now he realizes that separation was an illusion. Elena had seen everything, understood everything, and loved him anyway. His mother's music box sits on the shelf behind his desk, exactly where it's always been. An ornate wooden box from Italy, hand-painted with flowers, containing the few personal items his father had left behind when he was killed 20 years ago. Luca had never told Elena about the box, never shown her the letters inside, but somehow she'd known, just like she'd known everything else. He opens the box with trembling hands. His father's wedding ring gleams against the velvet lining. Beneath it are the letters his father had written to his mother during their courtship, declarations of love written in Italian, and there, taped to the bottom of the box exactly as Elena described, is a small silver key, Boston First Bank, box 122847. Luca looks at his watch. 4:47 p.m. The bank closes at 5. If he leaves now, he can just make it. Marco, he shouts, already moving toward the door. We need to get to the bank, now. But as he runs down the stairs, letter still clutched in one hand and key in the other, Luca knows that whatever evidence Elena has left him, whatever information she's gathered to save his empire, it means nothing without her. He'd thought he was protecting her by sending her away. Instead, he'd lost the only person who'd ever truly seen him, truly loved him, truly been willing to stand beside him in the darkness. And now she was gone, carrying his child, building a new life without him. The question was, would he fight to get her back, or would he let her go like she'd asked? As Marco speeds through Boston traffic toward the bank, Luca makes a decision. He would handle the Marchetti threat. He would root out the traitor. He would save his empire. And then he would go to New York and fight for his wife. Because Elena was wrong about one thing. Love might not be enough on its own, but love combined with action, with change, with the willingness to tear down everything and rebuild it better, that might be enough to bring her home. The vault door of Boston First Bank closes behind Luca with a heavy metallic thud that echoes in the small private room. In his hands, he holds a manila envelope that Elena left for him, an envelope that's about to expose the rot at the heart of his organization. His fingers shake slightly as he breaks the seal. Inside, he finds a leather-bound journal, its pages filled with Elena's meticulous curator's handwriting, dates, times, observations, photographs printed on glossy paper. Evidence compiled with the same careful attention to detail she brings to authenticating Renaissance paintings. Luca opens to the first page and begins to read. September 3rd, 2:30 p.m. Overheard conversation in our kitchen between Luca and Tommy Rossi about shipment schedules. Tommy asked very specific questions about timing and routes, more detailed than necessary for his role as security coordinator. Later saw him on his phone in the garden, speaking in a low voice. Couldn't hear words, but body language suggested secrecy. Tommy Rossi. Luca's stomach turns to ice. Tommy has been with the family for 8 years, worked his way up from street soldier to one of Luca's most trusted advisors. He's been to family dinners, Christmas celebrations, was at their wedding. Luca forces himself to keep reading. September 8th, 11:15 a.m., at museum, noticed a man photographing me from across the street. Tall, dark hair, expensive camera. Saw him again 2 days later outside our townhouse. Today I followed him when he didn't know I was watching. He met with Tommy Rossi at a coffee shop in North End. They spoke for 20 minutes. Tommy handed him an envelope. The photographer then made a phone call, and I heard him say, "Marchetti sends his regards," before walking away. Page after page of careful documentation. Elena had been conducting her own surveillance operation, tracking Tommy's movements, his phone calls, his meetings. She'd photographed him with Marchetti soldiers, documented cash handoffs, recorded license plate numbers. She'd built a case strong enough to bury Tommy Rossi and expose the Marchetti family's entire operation inside the Santoro organization. And she'd done it all while Luca had been treating her like a fragile piece of art that needed to be kept away from the ugliness of his world. "Boss?" Marco knocked softly on the vault room door. "We have to go. The bank's closing." Luca gathers the evidence, his jaw clenched so tightly it aches. "Get everyone to the warehouse. Emergency meeting. Everyone except Tommy." "Sir?" "Tell Tommy I want him to personally supervise tomorrow night's shipment at the docks. Tell him I'm trusting him with this because it's critical." Luca's voice is cold, controlled fury. "Tell him I need him to be my eyes and ears, since I can't be everywhere at once." Marco's eyes widen with understanding. "You're setting a trap. I'm giving a traitor exactly what he wants, the chance to be exactly where the Marchettis expect him to be when they make their move. The question is whether Tommy will be standing with us or against us when it happens." As they drive toward the warehouse in South Boston, where Luca conducts family business, Luca pulls out his phone and looks at Elena's number. His thumb hovers over the call button. He needs to hear her voice, needs to tell her he was wrong, needs to beg her forgiveness. But what right does he have? He sent her away. He made his choice. And more importantly, if Tommy has been compromising his security, his phones might be tapped, his communications monitored. Calling Elena now could put her in even more danger. No, he needs to handle this first. Eliminate the threat, secure his organization, make sure no one can ever use her to hurt him again. Then he can go to her, prove he's worthy of a second chance. The warehouse is full when they arrive. 20 of Luca's most trusted men, though now he questions that word, trusted, stand in a semicircle, waiting. These are the soldiers, the lieutenants, the men who've sworn loyalty to the Santoro family. One of them is a traitor. Luca stands before them, Elena's journal in his hands. "Gentlemen, we have a problem. The Marchetti family has been 2 steps ahead of us for months. They've known our shipment schedules, our routes, our security protocols. They've been bold enough to threaten my wife, to watch her, to photograph her." He sees several men exchange glances. Some look angry, some look confused. One, Vincent Calabrese, his oldest friend, looks horrified. They've been able to do this because someone in this room has been feeding them information, someone I trusted, someone who's betrayed not just me, but every man standing here. The tension in the room becomes electric. Men's hands move instinctively toward weapons. Eyes dart suspiciously at neighbors. "I don't know who it is yet," Luca lies smoothly, "but I will. And when I find out, there won't be anywhere in this city they can hide from me." He lets the threat hang in the air, watching faces carefully. Most show the appropriate level of outrage and determination, but he's not looking at most of them. He's looking at the men who aren't here, at the one conspicuous absence. "Where's Tommy?" Vincent asks, echoing Luca's thoughts. "Tommy is handling tomorrow night's shipment at the docks," Luca replies. "It's the most important delivery we've had in months, and I needed someone I could trust to oversee it personally." He watches the room carefully as he speaks, looking for any sign of recognition, any flicker that might indicate another traitor. But he sees nothing. If there are others compromised, they're better actors than Tommy. Here's what's going to happen, Luca continues. Tomorrow night, half of you will be visible at the docks with Tommy, running the shipment exactly as planned. The other half will be invisible, in the shadows, on the rooftops, in positions the Marchettis won't expect, because according to my intelligence, they're planning to hit us tomorrow at midnight. The room erupts in angry mutters and clenched fists. They think we don't know they're coming. They think their inside man has given them everything they need for a clean hit. They're wrong. Luca's voice cuts through the noise like a blade. Tomorrow night, we end the Marchetti problem once and for all, and we find out exactly who's been betraying this family. After the meeting, as men file out to prepare for tomorrow's confrontation, Vincent pulls Luca aside. You know who it is, don't you? The traitor. Luca looks at his oldest friend, the man who stood beside him when his father was killed, who helped him take control of the family at age 22. Yeah, I know. Who? Tomorrow night, you'll see. I need to be sure first. I need to catch them in the act. Luca's voice drops. Elena figured it out. She documented everything, built a case, left me evidence that could bury them. Vincent's eyebrows raise. Your wife? The museum curator? My wife, who I sent away this afternoon because I thought I was protecting her. Luca's voice is bitter with self-recrimination. Turns out she's been protecting me for weeks, and I was too blind to see it. Where is she now? New York. And Vincent? Luca meets his friend's eyes. She's pregnant. Vincent's expression shifts from surprise to understanding to something like pity. Jesus, Luca, you sent away your pregnant wife? I thought I was saving her life. Instead, I lost everything that matters. Luca pulls out Elena's letter, now creased from being read too many times. But after tomorrow, after I've cleaned house and eliminated the threat, I'm going to get her back. Even if I have to tear down everything I've built and rebuild it into something she can be part of. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Vincent claps a hand on Luca's shoulder. Then let's make sure you survive tomorrow night. Can't win your wife back if you're dead. The next day crawls by with agonizing slowness. Luca spends the morning positioning his men, going over the plan until everyone knows their role. Tommy Rossi is kept busy with the legitimate shipment preparations, unaware that every move he makes is being watched. At 3 p.m., Luca's phone rings. Unknown number. He answers cautiously. Mr. Santoro. The voice is smooth, cultured, with a hint of old New York money. This is Anthony Marchetti. I believe we have some business to discuss. Luca's blood runs cold. We have nothing to discuss. Oh, I think we do. You see, I have something you want, and you have something I want. Perhaps we can come to an arrangement that benefits us both. What are you talking about? Your wife, Mr. Santoro. Beautiful woman. Talented. I understand she's quite the expert on Renaissance art. Did you know she's been staying at the Plaza Hotel in New York? Room 1847. Checked in yesterday under her maiden name. Very clever, but not quite clever enough. Luca's vision goes red. If you touch her... I have no intention of touching her, Marchetti interrupts smoothly. As long as you give me what I want. You see, I know about your shipment tonight. I know about your routes, your security, your entire operation. My friend inside your organization has been very helpful. What do you want? Boston. I want you to step down, to divide your territory between my family and the other organizations in the city. I want the Santoro name to mean nothing. And in exchange, your wife, your pregnant wife, congratulations by the way, gets to live a long and happy life. The words hit Luca like physical blows. Marchetti knows about the pregnancy, which means he's been watching Elena in New York, has people tracking her movements even now. And if I refuse, then tonight's shipment will be the least of your problems. Accidents happen, Mr. Santoro. Train stations can be dangerous places. So can hotel rooms. So can museums where beautiful curators work late into the night. Luca's hand tightens on the phone until he hears the plastic creak. You have until midnight to decide, Marchetti continues. My people will be at the docks to collect what's rightfully mine. You can either hand it over peacefully and discuss terms for your retirement, or you can resist and watch everyone you love pay the price. Your choice. The line goes dead. Luca immediately dials a number he hasn't used in years. It rings 3 times before a gruff voice answers. Santoro, didn't expect to hear from you. Jack, I need a favor. A big one. Jack Morrison is a former FBI agent turned private security consultant. He and Luca have a complicated relationship. Jack looks the other way on certain activities, and Luca provides information when it serves both their interests. I'm listening. My wife is at the Plaza Hotel in New York, room 1847. The Marchetti family knows she's there and they're threatening her. I need someone I can trust to get her somewhere safe. Someone outside my organization. Someone the Marchettis won't see coming. Your wife? I didn't even know you were married. There's a lot you don't know. Can you do this or not? Jack is quiet for a moment. Yeah, I can do it. But Luca, this is going to cost you. Big time. Name your price. I don't care what it is. Just keep her safe until I can eliminate the threat. I'll have a team there in 30 minutes. But Santoro? Whatever you're planning for tonight, make it count. Because if you fail, if the Marchettis come after your wife again, I won't be able to stop them next time. After hanging up, Luca calls Vincent. Change of plans. The Marchettis know about Elena. They're threatening her in New York. How the hell do they... Vincent stops himself. Tommy must have had people following her. They know where she's staying. They know about the baby. Marchetti just called me, trying to force me to hand over everything, or they'll hurt her. What do you want to do? Luca's voice is pure ice. Tonight was already going to be a trap for the Marchettis. Now it's going to be a slaughter. I want every man we have at the docks. I want overwhelming force, and I want Tommy Rossi alive. I need to know exactly how much he's told them, who else might be compromised. And after? After, I'm going to New York. I'm going to get my wife and bring her home. And then I'm going to rebuild this organization into something she can be part of. No more secrets. No more protection without partnership. That's a big change, boss. Elena was right. I've been treating her like something fragile instead of recognizing her strength. She built a case against our traitor while I was busy pushing her away. She figured out the Marchetti threat while I was keeping her in the dark. She's been my partner all along, and I was too stupid to see it. Well, Vincent says, and Luca can hear the smile in his voice. At least you figured it out before you lost her, permanently. Now let's make sure you survive long enough to grovel properly. At 11:30 p.m., the docks are alive with activity. Shipping containers tower like steel monoliths, creating a maze of shadows and blind corners. The freighter carrying Luca's shipment, actually cases of electronics, nothing illegal, sits dark and silent at the pier. Tommy Rossi moves among the men with his usual efficiency, checking security positions, reviewing protocols. He has no idea that half the men he's coordinating are positioned to watch him as much as watch for the Marchetti attack. Luca stands in the shadows of a warehouse, binoculars in hand, watching Tommy's every move. Beside him, Vincent checks his weapon for the third time. He hasn't made any suspicious calls, Vincent reports, but he's been checking his phone every few minutes, like he's waiting for something. He's waiting for the signal, Luca replies, waiting for the Marchettis to make their move so he knows where to position our men for maximum casualties. At 11:47 p.m., Tommy's phone lights up with a text message. Luca watches through the binoculars as Tommy reads it, then casually walks toward the north entrance of the loading area, the most vulnerable position, where the shipping containers create a blind spot in their security coverage. There, Luca says quietly. He's repositioning, moving men away from the north entrance. Vincent speaks into his radio in a low voice. North entrance is the weak point. Marchettis will come from there. Everyone hold positions. Wait for my signal. At 11:58 p.m., the docks fall silent. Even the usual sounds of the harbor, water lapping against pilings, the distant groan of ships, seem to hold their breath. Then, at exactly midnight, 6 black SUVs roll silently through the north entrance, headlights off. They fan out across the loading area in a practiced formation. Professional. Military precision. Luca counts at least 20 Marchetti soldiers emerging from the vehicles, all armed, all moving with deadly purpose toward the freighter where his men are supposedly vulnerable and exposed. Tommy Rossi steps out from behind a shipping container, waving them forward, showing them the clear path he's created through their security. The traitor, finally revealed in the act. Now, Luca says into his radio. The docks explode with light and sound. Floodlights mounted on every warehouse and container illuminate the loading area like daylight. Santoro's soldiers emerge from concealment on rooftops, behind containers and doorways. The Marchettis find themselves surrounded, caught in a killing box of Luca's design. This is over! Luca's voice booms across the docks, amplified by speakers. Drop your weapons! You're surrounded! For a moment, everyone freezes. The Marchetti soldiers look around, realizing they've walked into a trap. Their leader, a thick-necked man Luca recognizes as Anthony Marchetti himself, raises his hand slowly, but Tommy Rossi, seeing his betrayal exposed, makes a different choice. He pulls his weapon and aims it directly at Luca's position, "You should have taken the deal," Tommy shouts, his voice cracking with desperate fury. "You should have walked away when you had the chance." The gunshot echoes across the water, but Tommy's aim is off, rushed. The bullet strikes the warehouse wall 2 feet from Luca's head, sending sparks of concrete chips into the air. Vincent doesn't hesitate. His return fire is controlled, precise. Tommy Rossi drops to the ground, clutching his shoulder, his weapon skittering across the pavement. "Anyone else?" Luca steps out of the shadows, his own weapon drawn, but pointed at the ground. "Anyone else want to die tonight? Or do we do this the smart way?" Anthony Marchetti's face is twisted with rage, but he's not stupid. He's surrounded by 40 armed men, outgunned and outmaneuvered. "This isn't over, Santoro." "Actually, it is." Luca walks closer, his voice dropping to a deadly quiet that somehow carries in the sudden silence. "You made 2 mistakes tonight, Anthony. The first was threatening my organization. The second, the fatal one, was threatening my wife." "Your wife is a weakness," Marchetti spits. "Every man in this city knows it. That's why you sent her away, isn't it? Because you knew she made you vulnerable." "No," Luca replies, and there's something in his voice that makes even his own men shift nervously. "I sent her away because I was a fool. Because I thought protection meant distance instead of partnership. But you know what? She spent weeks documenting every move your insider made. She built a case against Tommy Rossi that would hold up in any court. She identified your surveillance team, photographed your soldiers, recorded your operations." Luca pulls out his phone and holds it up, showing the photographs Elena took, the documentation she compiled. "My wife, the museum curator you dismissed as a weakness, has enough evidence here to send you and your entire family to prison for the rest of your lives. And that's just what she gathered on her own, without any training, while I was too busy being an idiot to notice." Marchetti's face goes pale. "So here's what's going to happen," Luca continues. "You and your men are going to drop your weapons. You're going to walk away from Boston. And you're going to forget my wife's name. Forget she exists. Forget I exist. Because if you ever come near her again, if you ever even think about threatening her, these photographs go to the FBI, the Massachusetts State Police, and every federal prosecutor in New England. You can't prove any of... Actually, I can. Because unlike you, I have someone brilliant on my side. Someone who pays attention, who documents everything, who's been protecting me while I was too proud to see it." Luca's voice softens slightly. "You said my wife was my weakness. You're wrong. She's my strength, and she's the reason you've already lost." Anthony Marchetti looks around, at the 40 weapons trained on him and his men, at Tommy Rossi bleeding on the ground, at the photographs that could destroy everything he's built. Finally, he drops his weapon. "Smart choice," Vincent says, stepping forward with several soldiers to secure the Marchettis. As Marchetti's men are disarmed and loaded into police vehicles, Jack Morrison came through with more than just protection for Elena. He brought federal warrants. Luca walks over to where Tommy Rossi lies, clutching his wounded shoulder. "Why?" Luca asks simply. Tommy's face is twisted with pain and something like regret. "They had my sister. The Marchettis kidnapped her 3 months ago. Said they'd kill her if I didn't help them. I didn't have a choice." Luca feels something cold settle in his chest. "You could have come to me. I would have helped you. Like you helped your wife? By pushing her away?" Tommy's laugh is bitter. "I saw how you handled the people you love, boss. You don't protect them. You abandon them to keep them safe. I couldn't risk it." The words hit harder than Luca wants to admit because there's truth in them. He did abandon Elena. He did push away the person he loved most in some misguided attempt at protection. "Your sister," Luca says. "Where is she?" "Marchetti warehouse in Southie. They've been holding her there." Luca looks at Vincent. "Send a team, get her out, and get Tommy to a hospital. Boss, he betrayed us. He nearly got us all killed. And he did it because someone he loved was in danger. I understand that better than anyone." Luca looks down at Tommy. "You'll answer for what you've done, but your sister doesn't have to pay for your mistakes." As Tommy is loaded into an ambulance, as the Marchetti soldiers are taken away in police vehicles, as his men begin the cleanup process, Luca finally allows himself to breathe. It's over. The threat is eliminated. His organization is secure. Now comes the hard part, winning back his wife. At 3 a.m., Luca stands in his study, staring at his mother's music box. The box where Elena found the key. The box she knew about even though he'd never told her. His phone rings. Jack Morrison. "Your wife is secure. I moved her to a private location. Not the plaza anymore, somewhere the Marchettis don't know about. She's safe. Thank you, Jack. I owe you." "Yeah, you do. And Santoro? Your wife is something special. When my team showed up to move her, she didn't panic, didn't ask questions. She just asked if you were okay, if you were safe. Even after you sent her away, she's worried about you." Luca's throat tightens. "Where is she?" "Safe house in Brooklyn. But Luca, before you go charging after her, you should know. She's not the same woman you sent away yesterday. She's stronger now, harder. She's not going to just fall into your arms because you show up. I know. I'm counting on it." After hanging up, Luca makes one more call, to his lawyer. "Richard, I need you to draft some documents for me. I want to restructure the organization, create legitimate business fronts, start the transition out of the illegal operations. And I want my wife's name on everything. Equal partner, equal decision-making power, full transparency." His lawyer is silent for a long moment. "Luca, are you sure about this? You'd be giving up sole control of the Santoro empire." "I should have given it up the day I married her. I'm just late in realizing it." Luca looks out the window at the Boston skyline, at the city he controls through fear and respect. "Draw up the papers. I'll sign them tomorrow before I go to New York." "You're really going to get her, aren't you?" "I'm going to try. Whether she'll have me back is another question entirely." After the call, Luca sits at his desk and pulls out a piece of paper, the same expensive cream-colored stationery Elena used for her goodbye letter. And he begins to write his own letter, one that explains everything, that apologizes for everything, that promises everything. Outside, dawn begins to break over Boston. The Marchetti threat is eliminated. The traitor has been dealt with. The organization is secure. But Luca Santoro has never felt more vulnerable in his life, because the success of his empire means nothing without the woman he loves. And in a few hours, he'll drive to New York to fight for her, armed with nothing but a letter, a restructured organization, and the desperate hope that love, combined with action and change, might be enough to bring her home. The Brooklyn safe house is nothing like Elena expected. Instead of some dingy apartment with barred windows, it's a renovated brownstone on a tree-lined street, the kind of place where young families push strollers and neighbors know each other's names. Normal, safe. Everything Luca's world isn't. She stands at the window of the second-floor bedroom, her hand resting on her still flat stomach, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of amber and rose. She hasn't slept. Every time she closes her eyes, she sees Luca's face when he told her to leave, sees the coldness in his expression that barely masked the pain underneath. Her phone, a burner device the security team gave her, sits silent on the nightstand. No calls, no messages. She doesn't even know if Luca survived last night, if the Marchetti attack she warned him about went according to his plan, or if... She can't finish that thought. The knock on her door makes her jump. "Mrs. Santoro?" A woman's voice, professional and calm. "There's someone here to see you." Elena's heart lurches. "Who?" "He says he's your husband." For a moment, Elena can't breathe. He came. After everything, after she told him goodbye, after she laid out her terms in black and white, he came. But as she walks down the stairs, her spine straightens with each step. She's not the same woman who left Boston 2 days ago. That woman had been desperate for scraps of attention, grateful for whatever pieces of himself Luca was willing to share. This woman knows her worth. This woman is carrying the future heir of the Santoro family, whether Luca chooses to be part of that future or not. Luca stands in the living room, and Elena's breath catches despite her resolve. He looks terrible, exhausted, his expensive suit wrinkled, a shadow of stubble darkening his jaw. There's a bandage on his left hand she doesn't remember seeing before, and something in his dark eyes that looks like devastation. "Elena." Her name comes out like a prayer. "Thank God you're safe." "Your security team was very efficient," she replies, keeping her voice steady. "Though I wish someone had told me what was happening before armed men showed up at my hotel room door at midnight. I'm sorry. I should have called you myself, but I couldn't risk the Marchettis tracing the call. They knew where you were, Elena. They were threatening you, using you to force me to give up everything." Elena's hand moves instinctively to her stomach. "And did you? Give up everything?" "No." Luca takes a step closer, then stops, as if remembering he doesn't have the right to approach her anymore. "I eliminated the threat. The Marchettis are finished in Boston. Tommy Rossi, the traitor you identified, is in custody. It's over." "People dead?" Luca's jaw tightens. "The Marchettis are in federal custody, facing charges that will put them away for life. Your documentation made that possible. Tommy was wounded but alive, and my organization survived intact." "Your organization?" Elena wraps her arms around herself. "That's good, Luca. I'm glad you saved your empire." "I don't care about the empire." The words burst from him with raw emotion. "I care about you, about our baby, about the life I threw away because I was too much of a coward to let you make your own choices." Elena feels tears prick her eyes, but she blinks them back. "Why are you here, Luca?" "To ask for a second chance, to prove I can be the partner you deserve instead of the dictator I've been." He pulls an envelope from his jacket pocket, the same cream-colored stationery she used for her goodbye letter. "I wrote you a letter, too. Not as elegant as yours, but it says everything I couldn't say before." Elena takes the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside, she finds pages filled with Luca's bold, decisive handwriting, so different from her own careful script. "My dearest Elena, I've built an empire through control. Every decision, every move, every relationship has been about maintaining power and eliminating weakness. I learned early that emotions were liabilities, that love was a vulnerability enemies could exploit. So I buried everything soft inside me and became the man my father's organization needed. Hard, ruthless, untouchable. Then I met you in that museum, standing before a painting of a mother protecting her child. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt something break open inside my chest. You saw beauty where I saw strategy. You saw humanity where I saw transactions. You looked at me and saw a man, not a monster. I fell in love with you so completely that it terrified me, because loving you meant I finally had something to lose. And in my world, having something to lose meant having a weakness enemies could exploit. So when the Marchettis threatened you, when I saw the photographs they'd taken, the surveillance reports detailing your movements, I did what I've always done. I took control. I made the decision for both of us. I convinced myself that pushing you away was protecting you, that love meant sacrifice, that I was being noble by breaking both our hearts. I was wrong. I was a coward hiding behind the illusion of protection. You spent weeks documenting evidence to save me while I was planning to send you away. You identified threats I didn't see, built a case against a traitor I trusted, and provided the intelligence that helped me survive last night. You were my partner all along, and I treated you like a liability. I'm not asking you to come back to the life we had. That life was built on my fear and control. I'm asking for the chance to build something new. I've restructured the organization, made it legitimate, or as legitimate as my world can be. I've put your name on everything, equal ownership, equal decision-making power. Not because I'm trying to trap you or obligate you, but because that's what should have happened the day we married. You were never just my wife. You were always supposed to be my partner. I'm also stepping back from the day-to-day operations. Vincent will handle most of the business while I figure out how to be a real husband and if you'll let me a father. I want to be at doctor's appointments. I want to help design the nursery. I want to be there for the middle-of-the-night cravings and the fear and the joy and every moment I threw away when I put you on that train. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But Elena, I'm willing to spend the rest of my life proving that I've learned from my mistakes, that I finally understand what you've been trying to tell me all along, that real strength isn't about control. It's about trust. It's about choosing to be vulnerable with someone because you believe in their strength as much as your own. I love you. I love our child. And I'm begging you for the chance to show you that I can be the man you deserve, the partner who trusts you, the husband who chooses you every single day. If you say no, I'll accept it. I'll support you and our baby financially. I'll be as present as you'll allow me to be, but I won't pressure you. You've spent enough of our marriage accommodating my fears. It's time I started respecting your choices, even if the choice you make breaks my heart. But if there's any part of you that still loves me, that believes I can change, that wants to build something new together, then please, come home. Not to my house, but to me. Let me spend every day proving that I see you, that I value you, that I trust you to be exactly who you are. Forever yours, if you'll still have me. Luca. Elena reads the letter twice, tears streaming down her face by the time she finishes. She looks up to find Luca watching her with an expression of such desperate hope that it physically hurts. You restructured the organization? She asks, her voice shaking. Everything. Legitimate businesses, transparent operations, and your name on all of it. I brought the documents. He pulls another envelope from his pocket, this one official-looking and thick with legal papers. Equal partnership in everything. You can review them, have your own lawyer look at them, change anything you want. This isn't a trick or a trap, Elena. This is me recognizing what should have been true from the beginning. Elena sets down the letters and walks to the window, looking out at the ordinary Brooklyn street. You're stepping back from operations? Vincent can handle it. He's wanted more responsibility for years, and frankly, he'll probably do a better job than I have. I've been so focused on control that I've missed opportunities, alienated allies, made enemies I didn't need to make. Luca's voice softens. I don't want to be that man anymore. I want to be the man who puts his family first, who trusts his wife, who doesn't sacrifice everything good in his life for the illusion of power. People don't change overnight, Luca. You're right, they don't. But they can choose to start changing. They can choose to do the work, to be uncomfortable, to tear down everything they thought they knew and rebuild it better. He takes a careful step toward her. Elena, I spent 2 years keeping you separate from my world because I thought that was protection. But you were never separate from it. You were documenting it, understanding it, navigating it in ways I never noticed. You don't need my protection. You never did. What you needed was my trust, my partnership, my willingness to let you be strong in your own way. Elena turns to face him, and Luca sees something in her expression that gives him hope. Not forgiveness yet, but possibility. I'm not the same woman you sent away, she says quietly. I can't go back to being the grateful wife who asks permission and accepts whatever pieces of information you're willing to share. I don't want that woman. I want you, the woman who built a case against a traitor while her husband was too blind to see. The woman who identified threats and documented evidence and probably saved my life with her intelligence. The woman who's strong enough to walk away from a man who doesn't deserve her. And our child. If I come back, what kind of life will they have? Whatever kind of life we build together. I can't promise there won't be danger. My history will always carry consequences. But I can promise transparency. I can promise that every decision that affects our family will be made together. I can promise that our child will grow up seeing their father respect their mother's strength instead of trying to cage it. Elena is quiet for a long moment, her hand resting on her stomach. I need time, Luca. I need to know this isn't just panic because I'm pregnant, or guilt because of what happened with the Marchettis. I need to know you've really changed, not just that you're saying the right words. Luca's heart clenches, but he nods. How much time? I don't know. Weeks, maybe, months. However long it takes for me to trust that this version of you, the one who writes letters and restructures organizations and talks about partnership, is real and permanent, not just a reaction to almost losing me. I'll wait. Luca's voice is steady despite the pain in his chest. However long it takes. I'll prove it to you, Elena. Not with words, but with actions. With showing up, with being consistent, with respecting your boundaries while I earn back your trust. Where will you stay? I have an apartment in Manhattan. I'll be close enough to help if you need anything, but far enough to give you space. And Elena? He meets her eyes. I meant what I said in the letter. If you decide you can't come back, if you decide you and our baby are better off without me, I'll accept it. I'll support you both financially and emotionally in whatever way you'll allow, but I won't give up hope until you tell me explicitly that there's none left. Elena walks toward him, and Luca holds his breath. When she's close enough that he can smell her jasmine perfume, she reaches up and touches his face gently. I still love you, she whispers. That's the problem. I love you so much that I stayed silent about threats for weeks, because I didn't want to worry you. I love you so much that even after you sent me away, my goodbye letter tried to save your life. I love you so much that seeing you now, exhausted and bandaged and desperate, makes me want to forget everything and fall into your arms. Then do it, Luca says softly. Fall, Elena. I promise I'll catch you. But love without respect destroys people. Elena's voice strengthens. And I can't live in a relationship where I'm protected instead of partnered. So yes, I need time. I need to see that these changes are real. I need to watch you choose trust over control, not once, but consistently. I need proof that you see me as your equal, not your responsibility. Luca nods, even though every instinct screams at him to pull her close and never let go. Then I'll prove it. Every single day. Starting now. He steps back, putting physical distance between them even though it costs him. I'm staying at the Cambridge Arms in Manhattan, room 512. Call me anytime, day or night. I'll come to doctor's appointments if you want me there. I'll stay away if you need space. Whatever you need, Elena, you're in control now. As Luca turns to leave, Elena calls out, Luca? He turns back, hope flaring in his chest. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the letter. Thank you for starting to understand. She touches her stomach gently. Our baby deserves a father who's learned these lessons. I'm glad you're trying to be that man. I'll be that man, Elena. Whatever it takes. 3 months pass like a slow, sweet torture. True to his word, Luca gives Elena space while proving his commitment through action, not just words. He attends every doctor's appointment, sitting quietly in the corner unless Elena asks for his input. He never pressures, never demands, just shows up consistently and lets her set the pace. He sends her updates about the business restructuring, detailed reports about the transition to legitimate operations, about Vincent's leadership, about decisions that affect their shared ownership. He asks her opinion and actually implements her suggestions, treating her as the equal partner he promised she would be. He goes to therapy, tells her about it without prompting, shares what he's learning about control and fear and the ways his father's violent death shaped him into a man who confused protection with possession. Slowly, carefully, Elena begins to trust again. Not the blind trust of before, but something stronger. Trust earned through consistency, through vulnerability, through watching Luca do the uncomfortable work of changing. When she's 5 months pregnant and finally showing, Elena calls Luca at 2 a.m. "Elena, are you okay? Is it the baby?" "No, we're fine. She takes a breath. "I just wanted to hear your voice, and I wanted to tell you something. Anything. It's a girl. We're having a daughter." The silence on the other end of the line is so complete that Elena thinks the call dropped. Then she hears Luca's voice, rough with emotion. "A daughter. Elena, we're having a daughter. And I want you to come home, Luca. Not to your house or my apartment. I want us to find a new place together. Somewhere that belongs to both of us, that we can build into a home for our family." "Are you sure?" "Elena, I don't want you to rush. I'm not rushing. I've had 3 months to watch you change, to see you choose trust over control every single day. I've seen you respect my boundaries even when it hurt. I've watched you build a legitimate business that I can be proud to be part of. You've proven everything you promised in that letter." Elena's voice softens. "And our daughter deserves to grow up in a house where her parents choose each other every day, where her father respects her mother's strength, where love looks like partnership instead of possession." "I'll start looking for houses tomorrow," Luca says, and Elena can hear the smile in his voice. "Big enough for a nursery, close enough to the museum that you can go back to work when you're ready, safe enough that you'll feel comfortable, beautiful enough that you'll want to stay forever." "Luca." "Yes?" "Come over. I don't want to wait until tomorrow to start building our life together." An hour later, Luca stands in Elena's Brooklyn apartment, pulling her gently into his arms for the first time in 3 months. When he feels their daughter move between them, he closes his eyes and understands finally what Elena has been trying to teach him all along. Real strength isn't about control. It's about trust. It's about choosing to be vulnerable because you believe in someone else's strength as much as your own. And love, real love, looks like partnership. 6 months later. The nursery in their new Brookline home is painted soft yellow, with Renaissance-inspired murals that Elena designed herself. Luca sits in the rocking chair, their 3-week-old daughter Sophia sleeping on his chest, while Elena reviews business reports from the organizations Vincent has been running in their absence. "The waterfront development is ahead of schedule," she says, making notes in the margins. "And the museum partnership is bringing in more revenue than projected. Vincent's suggestion about the art authentication services was brilliant. You should tell him that at tomorrow's meeting. He'll appreciate hearing it from you." Elena looks up from her reports and smiles at the sight of her husband cradling their daughter. "You're a natural at this, you know, the whole father thing." "I had a good teacher." Luca's voice is soft, careful not to wake Sophia. "You've taught me everything important, about trust, about partnership, about what real strength looks like. We taught each other." Elena sets down her papers and moves to sit beside him. "I learned that asking for what I need isn't weakness. You learned that giving me space to be strong isn't abandonment. We both learned that love requires conscious choice every single day." Sophia stirs, making the small sounds that precede crying. Elena reaches for her, and Luca carefully transfers their daughter into her mother's arms. As Elena begins to nurse, Luca watches his wife and child with an expression of wonder that never seems to fade. "I almost lost this," he says quietly. "I almost threw away everything that matters because I was too afraid to trust. But you didn't." Elena reaches for his hand. "You made a mistake, but then you did the work to fix it. That's what matters. I'll keep doing the work. Every day. Forever. I know. That's why I came home." Later, after Sophia is fed and changed and sleeping peacefully in her crib, Luca and Elena stand together in the nursery doorway, watching their daughter breathe. "Do you remember what I saw in that Botticelli painting?" Luca asks. "The day we met? the mother protecting her child. I thought protection meant keeping you separate from danger, keeping you away from my world. Luca wraps his arm around Elena's waist. But real protection looks like this. Like building a life together where we both choose each other, where we face danger together instead of apart, where our daughter grows up seeing her mother respected and her father vulnerable. Elena leans into him, feeling safe, not because she's being protected, but because she's been trusted. I love you, Luca Santoro. I love you, Elena Santoro. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for teaching me what love really looks like. And in the morning, when Sophia wakes them with her hungry cries, they'll face it together. Two equal partners building a life that honors both their strengths, a family built on trust instead of control, a love that grows stronger every day because it was tested and chose to survive. Some storms are meant to wash away what's broken, so something stronger can grow in its place. And sometimes, the note you leave behind becomes the first page of a better story, one where love looks like partnership, where strength comes from trust, and where two people learn that the most powerful thing they can do is choose each other, consciously and completely, every single day. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.